A couple of my friends were like, I don't know why you're into this. This seems like a scam. There was periods where I felt like, am I crazy? Because I couldn't help myself.
Bitcoin is a digital currency. It just sounds so silly, but maybe it's not.
I was an employee at Airbnb, and nights and weekends, I couldn't stop thinking about Bitcoin. I had a lot of self-doubt about it at that time, because again, my friends thought it was weird. You almost had to have like a computer science degree to understand it. So there's these things like private keys. And if you lose them, your money's gone. You want to send a payment in crypto, you have to cybersecurity thing where someone's trying to hack your stuff. And it was all very clunky and hard to use. But the thing that I loved about it was that it's accessible to everybody in the world. And I eventually said, you know what? I've got to try building something in this space.
The global financial system is made up of governments, banks, and other institutions prone to inefficiency and sometimes even corruption. Brian Armstrong built Coinbase to increase access to a new world economy, the crypto economy. The company took off.
Coinbase going public this Wednesday through a direct listing.
Coinbase is now valued at around $100 billion and has made Brian a leading voice in crypto. But what happens when you go from being a disruptor to building an institution? This is a show about founders challenging the status quo.
It turns out to build an entirely new economy for the world, you can imagine, is a big, crazy, ambitious mission. I spent some time working at Airbnb, and one of the most difficult things they had to solve was how do you move money around the world to all these countries? There was often very high transaction fees, so you'd lose like 6% in a transaction. And then there was also delays. Sometimes it's like 7 days to move money. But it doesn't really need to be that way. I mean, think about it, if you send an email or a WhatsApp message or something, it arrives instantly, it'll go everywhere in the world, it's free. What we haven't seen is a financial system that works like that.
On October 31st, 2008, a pseudonymous person, or group of people, named Satoshi Nakamoto released the Bitcoin white paper into the world. It laid the vision for a sort of digital money that removed the middlemen from financial transactions and was governed by code, not people.
When I read that Bitcoin white paper, I thought, wow, this could be a more fair and free and open payment system for the world. But frankly, it was kind of an intimidating thing that people didn't know how to get access to.
In the early days, Bitcoins were lost and stolen. Exchanges were shut down. It was a new frontier that was complicated.
And so I would start to think about how could this protocol be easier to use? How could I make something that helped it grow?
So Brian set out to make a simple way to buy, own, and sell Bitcoin in hopes of improving access and adoption.
I saw online that there was a Bitcoin meetup. Some people were like computer science PhDs, other people were like the true diehard crypto anarchists. It was like a very odd group of people.
I first met Brian on the internet, on Reddit. When I saw the prototype he had built, I assumed it was a team of 5 people. And then lo and behold, I sit down and meet this guy, and it's just one guy.
You know, Airbnb was doing really well at that time, so it was kind of a big thing to leave. I was kind of like dreading calling my parents and telling them, yeah, so I quit my job to do a startup, and having them, oh my gosh, like, what are you gonna do about healthcare or whatever?
Despite the unknown, Brian and Fred partnered up to launch Coinbase in June of 2012. It was pretty rough in the beginning.
Building a company is basically just like moving from one setback to the next with enthusiasm. Sometimes the website would go offline, and so I was like on pager duty, right? And so I'd get woken up like sometimes 2 or 3 times a night.
We literally worked out of a 2-story apartment. We had a venture capitalist over for an early fundraising meeting. This guy walks out of the shower in a towel, and we sort of were like, oh yeah, don't worry about that guy, he's moving out next month.
It was stressful because we were starting to store people's money, and this was a very beta product. We put a big banner on the app that was like, do not put any money in here that you were unwilling to lose. I remember calling some of my friends in the cybersecurity world. I was like, okay, how can we build this system? And it needs to have this security properties. He's like, I think it'll take probably like 5 to 10 people, 2 years to build it. And I was like, we have maybe 2.5 weeks, and I'm the only one.
Between 2014 and 2017, Bitcoin's value was stagnant. But then the price skyrocketed nearly 10x in 5 months, bringing a flood of users into Coinbase with it they weren't prepared for. And it didn't stop. Employees worked around the clock to meet the demand. By 2020, Coinbase grew to 43 million users and was storing $90 billion worth of their assets.
I realized at a certain point we were creating this bridge between 2 worlds, the crypto economy and there was the traditional economy, which allowed a huge amount of fiat money in the world to begin to flow into the crypto economy.
The Despite its volatility, crypto's value was growing. It was starting to become an accepted form of payment. But in 2020, a divide within Coinbase would test Brian's leadership and present him with one of the hardest decisions of his career.
Before starting Coinbase, I had never managed a single person. Now we have 3,000 employees and we're growing very quickly. There was periods where I felt like, wow, I'm in way over my head.
So we have a live map.
We were growing really, really fast and everything broke down. Like it was just communication, everything. It was just really hard and you could see the tension.
In the past, corporations typically stayed quiet on political issues. Today, many argue they shouldn't, that in fact, it's their moral obligation to speak out. In the wake of George Floyd protests, a contingent of Coinbase employees argued exactly that, demanding that Coinbase make a sustained public commitment on this issue.
And frankly, it became a little uncomfortable for me as a leader because I was being asked about like these really difficult subjects happening in the world, which I'm equally concerned about, but they weren't related to what we were all here to build. And so the thing that culminated was at a certain point, a large number of employees got frustrated enough where they walked out. They were trying to utilize the place that the company had in society to try to tackle all these other issues. And I realized, I just don't agree with that.
The divide within Coinbase caused Brian to assess his ability to lead the rapidly changing company.
Either I shouldn't be CEO and I should leave, or they probably need to go.
In company building, you have these moments where you can choose to kind of hold back from what you think is the right thing for the culture, or you can actually just rip the Band-Aid off and say it.
I finally said, you know what? I started this company and I think we're on a path to do something really good in the world, and I need to realign the company and get everybody back rowing in the same direction.
He made his views pretty clear in a blog post this week. Armstrong says Coinbase, quote, won't debate causes or political candidates internally and will not engage in things unrelated to their core mission.
I was like almost on the verge of tears giving this presentation because I knew that it was going to hurt people and all these things.
About 5% of Coinbase's employees left in response, taking an exit package the company created for them. Brian's decision put him and Coinbase at the center of the very type of contentious, unending political debate he was trying to avoid.
I never thought that anybody would actually hate me for what I'm doing and like how much people are going to have an opinion about everything you do and how much it sucks.
Was it scary to wonder like if the solution was you leaving?
Very much so. Yeah, it was definitely scary. Coinbase went from this thing which people kind of discounted it. They were like, this is a toy, like it doesn't really matter. So suddenly it's like, now we're sort of building an institution.
It has just opened up for trading, $381 for a $100 billion valuation.
Cryptocurrency was created to disrupt the formal institutions that govern money. But to reach the mainstream, crypto needs to become its own institution. And that has thrust Brian and Coinbase into the unlikely position of advising governments and regulators looking to navigate this new frontier.
What we're really seeing with crypto is the birth of this new economy.
Crypto currently accounts for less than 5% of the world's money, and it's not without its risks. But with widespread adoption, it could increase access to things like venture capital for startups, especially in the developing world, become a hedge against inflation, and make the world financial system more efficient and equitable. Many think the impact of this technology could be as significant as the invention of the internet.
I want to live in a world where there's a global payment system where everybody can access something that's more fair. It's really about economic freedom and just freedom in general. What's great about Coinbase having some success now is that we have more and more resources to allocate to help Team Human advance a little bit and try to do something important in the world.